Greetings from Cybertron. This is SoundJack here with another episode of SoundJack's Rambles. And today I'm joined by Alyssa.
Hello.
And today we are talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Hooked on a feeling. How could I not? How could I not?
I mean, I don't know. I didn't, so shrug. Anyway, so the reason why we're talking about this movie is because
It's the 3-year anniversary.
Yep. Oh, it is. Yes, that's why.
Yep.
Well,
3-year.
Oh yeah. It was released in theater August 1st. So
yes.
And this podcast will go out on that day. So
sorry, 4-year anniversary. 4-year anniversary. I thought we were in 2017 for a moment.
Oh my god, dude, come on.
It came out
with the times, man.
August 1st, 2014.
Yes,
yeah.
It did. And so since that's the anniversary, we taught this movie, and I think it'll be a fun time.
Yes.
So I guess we'll first start off with a summary, right?
Well, how we saw it.
Oh yeah, yes.
Okay. I got
we'll
into it.
Do that.
So
go ahead. Start.
Okay. So I saw it before Alyssa. I definitely know this.
Yeah.
Because I saw it when it came out in the theaters. Just because, oh hey, it's the newest Marvel movie. Oh hey, it's different and interesting. Let's go see it. And I saw it and I enjoyed it. Simple as that, pretty much.
Yeah.
How did you see it, Alyssa?
So I actually, like most of the movies in the Marvel franchise, was sleeping on this for way too long. I did not see it in theaters. I ended up, our friends were going to go see, our mutual friends were going to go see Guardians, the sequel, Volume 2. But I hadn't seen the first one yet. So right before we saw it, I saw the first one.
Yep, with me.
So yeah, yep, and I loved it, and I loved the sequel even more.
Yeah.
And I don't care. Haters can go at me on that. Is like a controversial opinion, like whether you're.
I mean, both of them are very good movies, so I don't know if it's controversial to like that one more. But I feel like there is a debate about which one is better.
I think Volume 2 is better. I think it sort of takes what the first film established and like moves it in a good direction.
Mm-hmm.
And the one is good. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? So anyway, we're talking about the sequel. We're talking about the first one.
Yes.
So that's we're not going to touch on Volume 2. We'll probably think about that later.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, now we've talked about that. Let's just go into a brief plot summary to refresh people's minds, because hopefully you are watching this after having seen it already. If not, go do that, because you should definitely watch this movie. It's a good time.
Yeah.
But Alyssa, would you do the honors of giving us the brief summary of the plot of this film?
Sure. So basically, Guardians of the Galaxy is a story of a motley crew of individuals. You have Chris Pratt, who's the only human, and he was abducted by aliens. Like I forget their names. The Yondu's group. I don't know those guys. He was abducted by those guys when he was a kid. His mom died. Oh, the Raptors. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, Ravagers.
Sorry, I blanked on the name. It's been a while.
Don't worry, I did too.
So you have the Ravagers, who's Yondu, or led by Yondu, and he gets hit back to space, and then and then he does scavenging, essentially steal stuff to sell them later. Does he do bounty hunting? I see it as bounty hunting, right? Yeah, because that's who he worked with. But basically, Peter Quill is his name. Does all this other stuff, and he hears about this mysterious orb. He's gonna go try and get it. And this is when he gets arrested, runs into everyone else. He runs into Gamora, who is I don't know if they ever say what she is. Gamora, she's this alien person who is the adopted daughter of us.
Yep, they did talk about that.
Huh?
They did talk about that. They didn't say what her actual race was, but yeah.
Yeah. Just some alien woman.
Yeah.
Just some alien. And she's eventually basically running away from him, and so I don't know why she was arrested. I think she was arrested Peter Quill was, because they're still in the orb, but that's not really important. They meet up also in prison. They meet up with Drax, who's this angry roid dude who he's kind of the Gimli of the group. He's the strong dude who's also sort of the comic relief of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to seek revenge for his wife and daughter who were killed by Thanos. Then there's So then there's the duo of Rocket Raccoon and Groot. Rocket Raccoon is literally just a raccoon who is experimented on. I don't think they ever talk about exactly what experiments were performed on him, but it's something pretty horrible.
Yeah. I think they did say it was genetically and cybernetically modified.
Okay, yeah. So those kinds of modifications, and then he's also kind of still stuff. Kind of is.
He likes his weapons.
Not very nice. Yeah. Oh yes, that's what he does. Yeah. And then his pal Groot, who is a tree dude, who only ever says "I am Groot."
In that order.
He's basically the Chewbacca of the Peter crew. Yeah. In that he's talked weirdly, and Rocket Raccoon is the only person who can understand him. I think, right? No one else can understand what he says?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Rocket can.
So basically they all break out of prison, and they become an unlikely team who needs to try to hunt down Ronan. They have to fight Ronan the Accuser, who is the bad guy in this movie, as well as Nebula is kind of there. I mean, she's not really a major villain, but she's helping him out. And Nebula is Gamora's sister.
Yes.
So, and they're sort of underlings of Thanos.
Yes.
Yep. And I mean, obviously, that's sort of the basic plot. Basically, it's a space adventure.
Yep.
Full of wacky hijinks.
Yep.
So if you like space full of wacky hijinks, this is a movie for you.
Yep. Oh yeah, it's getting late, is it?
Oh my gosh, yeah, sorry. Okay, summary. So I guess now, would you recommend this movie, Michael?
Definitely.
Same for me.
Yeah.
Same for me.
Yeah.
I think we'll get into more about why we like this movie later on.
Yes.
Definitely let's see it.
Yes.
It's definitely worth your time.
Oh yes. Yeah. So getting into the film itself.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk. Where do we want to start?
Why don't we start off with I don't know. What do you think is? So it depends. Do you want to talk about favorite characters? We can talk about our moments in this movie. We can talk about our favorite, about the plot and the narrative and how we feel about that. We can talk about background stuff like the score or the.
Let's go plot.
Look of the movie. Go with what plot?
Let's go with plot.
Sure.
I think that'll be the easiest to springboard discussions off of. and keep it in order because oh my god, there's so much to talk about it, and there's so much good stuff to talk about. I don't know where to start. So let's just start from the beginning. The introduction of Peter Quill.
Mm-hmm.
A, wow, that was sad.
Yeah.
And B, definitely explains why we have all of the 80s music
Yeah.
in the film.
Okay, so one of the things, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that Peter, I mean, again, I think that the whole thing with his mother really doesn't come into a head until the second volume.
Yeah.
So, but I think it does set a sort of Peter Quill's like weakness in that he has a lot of regret over like how the fact that he didn't like take his mother's hand and everything.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't think he was ever really properly allowed to mourn his mother's death.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of an underlying theme in the movie.
Especially with the gift.
Yep. Yeah.
Because
there's sort of this. Yeah.
26 years later, he still hasn't opened it.
Yep. And I think that you know, for me, the parts of this movie that really stick out are the ones that don't have a lot of dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Like, yeah. I don't know if I really remember too many individual lines from the movie, but I do remember a lot of the more emotional and like impactful scenes. So like, yeah, the thing about Peter opening up, or Star-Lord, I guess, opening the present, you know, and having held on to it for so long. I mean, that says so much about how he views his mother, you know, and how much grief he still has over her. Yeah. So that to me is like a big moment. I also think that, okay, this is jumping around. Is that okay if we jump around?
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah, I guess similarly, again, moments that aren't necessarily dialogue moments, but the fact that Star-Lord saves the day by like dancing and singing.
Yeah.
Like, out of all, like, you would think that the way this would go would be epic climactic battle, but it's not. He just starts singing and dancing, and then Ronan is just so like confused that he just stops and is just like, what? I thought that was really funny and a really great way to like subvert your expectations.
Mm-hmm. Though that space battle was crazy. That space battle was really crazy.
I mean, yeah, the space battle was crazy.
Climactic. Oh my god.
But at the same time,
yeah. All of the effort that was done to make sure everyone got out, even though like half Nova Corps blew up, sadly.
Yep. Yeah.
But that was really cool with those ships and how they worked.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how you see just built for defense over offense. Yeah. I think that's also kind of cool. But I do really like I do really like how the actual end panned out. Yeah.
Yes.
I also think I mean Bruce sacrifice was also pretty upsetting. I think Rocket Raccoon's reaction to it, and that whole scene is just really, you know, he's crying and like Drax comforts him and everything. And I like how it's like not, you know, there's no funny stuff about it. It's just a sad moment, and it allows itself to be sad, and I like that.
Yes.
As I've said, I think I've said this before on the podcast, but I always I like funny movies. But I'm almost always more interested in movies that are funny and also dramatic at the same time. You know, I think a lot of people, when they expect to watch a comedy, they expect it to be joke after joke after joke after joke. And while that's always good and that's fine and dandy, and you know, I like my straight comedy as much as the next person, but I think there's almost even more intriguing about a movie that is comedic but also allows itself to be serious at times. You know what I mean? Like I think that's really that to me is almost a more interesting experience, and I think that's why I like Guardians of the Galaxy too. The series too. I think that they kind of make the balance between comedic movie with a lot of good jokes, but they also take themselves seriously enough that you can have moments where there's tragedy, you can have moments where there's, you know, drama and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely. Because, I mean, basically all of them have tragic backstories, and most of them pass it off, get through comedic moments.
Yeah.
Gamora is the most straight-laced one of the group, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And while Drax is like Drax the Destroyer and very serious, he just ends up being the most comedic because he's so straight-laced.
Oh yeah, because he takes everything literally.
Yeah. And
he just has no filter, so
yeah.
I think that's what makes him funny. He doesn't have any shame, which is interesting.
Yeah. It's just different culture.
Yeah, and so but I think I think that's why I like this movie, and I think that's almost I feel like the volume 2 is so interesting to me because again, there's a lot more drama in the second movie. I feel like than the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you feel about that.
Oh, definitely. There's a lot more tensions.
So in that way, I feel like I think the volume 2, the fact that it's able to be comedic and also dramatic at the same time, even more in this movie, also makes me gravitate towards it more. But I also think again that volume 1 does a good job at like having that, soft that good comedic side. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's the prison break.
Yeah, what about it?
That a lot of that was really great. Just how like Rocket Raccoon's okay, we're going to need these items, and then we're going to have to save this specific item for last. And we see Groot taking care of that, and then we got to stop the security systems. We're only have a limited amount of time, and then Groot gets it, and it's like, okay, we're just doing this now. Then, okay, that's how we're doing it.
I do think that's really good. Yeah. I think that plans, one of the big they're there's when it comes to characters enacting a plan, there's two ways to do it. Theoretically, one, you show the characters making the plan, but if you show them making the plan, then they have to mess somewhere along the way. Mm-hmm. They can't succeed all the way through.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's boring for the audience because then, what's the showing us the plan if we know that everything's going to happen perfectly? If you want them to do it perfectly, you don't tell the audience about the plan. You just cut to it and then let them execute it, and then the audience is still engaged because they don't know what's going to happen. Basically, my point is when you have a plan scenario, you have to the audience doesn't exactly what's going to happen. Mm. Either you show them and everything, something fails and it turns out differently, or B, you don't show the audience things and then it either goes mostly according to plan. Now, of course, in this scenario, it's not like a heist movie where they show us everything that's going to happen. You're sort of making it on the fly, but I think that kind of shows that they're thinking about how to keep the audience's attention and what's going to be the most interesting, and having just do it is really funny and also cool. And like I said, even though I said that this movie has its serious moments, and I think it also doesn't take itself too seriously. It understands that it's a space opera, not space opera, but a space movie where you have a green alien woman, a roided out dude, a literal like a literal raccoon and a talking tree as your main protagonist. And that right there is just like a like automatically just the most bizarre scenario.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, I guess we gotta just excuse me, like at some point you're gonna be like, okay, we gotta make some, and I feel like that the jokes make it work because you sort of buy into it a little more.
Yeah.
I guess. I think so. I wanted to actually ask you, Michael,
yes.
Who's your favorite character out of the cast?
Groot.
Why do you like Groot?
He's just so nice compared to everyone else. Because but he's also
maybe he curses up the storm. Rocket Raccoon senses him.
He's also to an extent he's just deep down he's kind and caring and honest. He just wants to do the right thing, but he is a bit naive to certain extents, especially with how murderous he can be.
Mm-hmm.
But even as someone that can only say the words "I am Groot," you get a bunch out of him.
Yeah.
And that's
I agree.
I also just happen to like Giant Tree Man. But all the main characters are great. All the main characters have their moments. Just if you had to make me pick one, I would just pick Groot because. Yeah.
Well, for me, my favorite character is Howard the Duck.
No, it's not. I don't want to.
Yeah, it is. Did you see the end credit scene? That was the best part of the movie. No, I'm teasing.
No, because it reminded us that Howard the Duck movie existed.
No, I know. It was made by George Lucas, and it. Have you I haven't actually seen the movie, but I have seen footage of it.
I am aware of things that happened in the movie.
It it's just I whenever I look at Howard the Duck, it's just I feel like I'm looking into hell right now. Like I'm looking at Satan's mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never want to see that movie. Unless people really want to hear us talk about Howard the Duck.
If this video gets 1,000 likes, if this video gets 1,000 likes, we'll watch Howard the Duck and talk about it on the podcast within a year.
Okay. All right. Yeah, guys. If you really want to hear us talk about Howard the Duck, the movie was written by George Lucas, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Written by George Lucas. The 80s movie. Give this video 1,000 likes, and then we will totally watch it for you and tell you what we think about it.
Yep.
Okay. So, anyway, we were talking about favorite characters.
Yeah.
I'm really stuck on which favorite character I have. I think I have a soft spot for pretty much the entire crew. I think they're all really great. I think they all have their, flaws and their strengths. And seeing them, I think what's really great about these movies is that, the entire cast is very flawed. These aren't heroes in the same sense like Superman. They're not even like Luke Skywalker, who if he's flawed, he's still probably more of a hero than they are. Yeah. Moral speaking, morality sense. Peter Quill is a womanizer. He kind of is full of himself. He's arrogant. He's kind of he has that sort of dude bro vibe that can get kind of old. So he's flawed in that way. Gamora is emotional, distant. She doesn't really. She has a before others. She sort of has a survivor mentality, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can be bad when you're on a team, you know.
Yeah.
Rocket Raccoon is constantly like trying to shove people away. He acts bitter when there's no reason to.
Especially when drunk.
Is really rude to everyone, huh?
Especially when drunk.
Oh yeah, he's really rude to everyone. He's just a very complicated character who has a lot of unfortunate things happen to him. And Drax is he's driven by rage, and he also, even though he takes things literally, he doesn't really seem to understand a lot of things. He can be very rude too. I guess without even knowing it, but that's still, you know,
yeah.
He doesn't have a lot of tact. So yeah, basically the entire cast is flawed, very flawed, and probably they could easily be like the bad guys in another movie. But
oh yeah,
the whole point of it is like you see these characters who are really, really trashy people who sort of grow to like each other and even grow to care about things that they probably wouldn't have cared about previously. Like all these characters are pretty self-centered and don't really seem to care about the world at large, but then they learn to care about like the Infinity Stone and are willing to try and save the galaxy.
Just because they happen to be idiots that live in it.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So I think that's also a really nice thing about this movie. I think it's great that the characters aren't like heroic or really people to look up to.
Yeah.
In the same way that like someone like Captain America is like
a
person to look up to.
Definitely.
You know, these people have flaws, so.
Yes. Flaws are good. Flaws are normal.
I mean, I think these characters are like probably more flawed than your average hero.
Oh yeah, certainly.
And they're probably like less likable than maybe your average hero. But again, that's sort of part of the story. You need for the story that unfolds, you sort of need characters who are extremely flawed and not always likable.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the fact that they deal with their flaws is a good thing too, because there are some movies I've seen where the characters are very flawed, but you know, they don't ever see the error in their ways or learn something. They just kind of stay the same throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Yeah, I really like the characters in this movie. So one thing I wanted to mention is I think that Groot and Rocket Raccoon CGI on them is really great.
Yes.
Like, I have no trouble believing that Rocket Raccoon and actually they're on screen.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like there's a moment where like I feel like they're talking to like nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like there are movies where they have a character that's very CGI,
mm-hmm.
and you feel like they're not there. You know, like you can obviously like you're just the special effects for whatever reason kind of always remind you that you know what I mean? Like
mm-hmm.
if the CGI is not that good, you don't actually believe they're there.
Yeah.
Or it's kind of weird like that. I didn't have any problems with Rocket Raccoon or I thought, you know, both of them I could believe in existence because the special effects did really well. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. I swear I like this movie a lot. I'm not bored.
Sounds like you need to get more sleep.
Yeah, I probably do. I also really like the score and the music. The soundtrack is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of makes sense that it has this sort of 70s soundtrack because it's the only music.
80s.
80s. I think a lot of the songs are 70s too. Isn't Coming to Love a 70s song?
True, I assume most of them were 80s because
it's like a soul track.
70s and 80s.
I don't think it's 80s. I think it's 70s. I mean, I know he has a Walkman. The Walkman came out in like the 80s, but it could still be 70s.
That's true. I could be completely wrong.
I'm Krypton of Feelings also.
Yeah, you know, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know. I don't actually know the dates of any of these songs being released. So
that's a 70s song. Let me look up some of the other songs. My sister actually made a list on Spotify, called Awesome Mix, which is like a lot of the songs that's on it are from Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think most of them are in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Either way, regardless of what decade the songs come from, they're all really good. I think they make a lot of sense. And it kind of gives the soundtrack a good feeling, and it definitely doesn't feel like the sounds picked superfluously forward and just a solo soundtrack. You know?
Yeah.
Like they fit the tone of the movie. It makes sense that, you know, in his childhood, Peter could be listening to 70s music. In fact, the music isn't any older than that, or doesn't sound any older than that. It's really good too. So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other things to say about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Let's talk about the villain.
Positive. The who?
The villain, Ronan.
Oh, sure, Ronan. Yeah. What to say? I'll be honest, he isn't really that interesting to me.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe from a comic book perspective, he's more interesting. I don't know. I know he's like a right-hand man to Thanos.
Yeah. Who just wants.
He has his own thing, but
he's got his own goals, and then he gets ultimate power, and he's like, "I can defeat you, Thanos. I will come after you once I take care of the people that dare make truces with my kind, or whatever."
Yeah.
He's kind of your generic power hungry muscle man, kind of.
Yeah, and like, yeah, you know, there's not really anything. Also, there's something about his design that's very threatening in my eyes.
Yeah.
He just kind of feels like very replaceable.
Yeah.
He also isn't one of those villains. Like, he's not really a villain that you are fearful of. That I'm like scared. You know, and he's also not really a villain that like I love to hate. You know.
Yeah.
Like there are some villains, like Disney villains, for example, are a great example of villains you can love to hate, even though they are bad people, they're still likable to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you, Gaston, right? Like as a villain. Yeah. Yes. So like kind of like that, you know, like Gaston isn't a good guy, but you know, you still like are invested in him as a villain. Because he's charismatic, even though he's a guy. Ronan, I don't think is very charismatic.
Yeah. But I will say, while generic, I do think that kind of works well for this movie. Since the Guardians are so different to superhero teams or movies that we are used to watching. Mm-hmm. So having this sort of a cookie cutter villain allows us to see standard tropes and how they work within a different scenario.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
At some points, I don't think we get it as much as we could, but certainly like how the ending goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Is definitely not how it would have gone if Ronan was fighting the Avengers in the first Avengers movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, replacing Loki with Ronan, that would have been a huge mistake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that the fact that Ronan is kind of bland isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
But
That still doesn't
you
make
know,
me think he's one of the better Marvel villains. I think in the context that it works.
yeah, I don't think he like destroys the movie or he might be the weakest part, but like, not by much.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna lose any sleep over the fact that I think Ronan's boring, you know, or doesn't impress himself on me in ways other villains might.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So now that we're sort of on, is there any other like negatives or anything that you want to talk about? On your end, like anything, like I guess you weren't like totally against Ronan. Do you think he's like was like criticism? Like, do you have any criticisms or like, any negatives that you didn't like?
I'm trying to think. There's nothing really negative. Like,
okay.
The only thing I could,
that's like,
the first thing that pops in my head is like, oh, why was that there? Was like when Quill went to the world to get the orb, and then he was piloting away, and then there was the girl below at the lower level of the ship he forgot was there.
I think that was like, probably an establishing thing. Like it was supposed to show that.
Yeah. Sorry.
Can I finish?
Yeah.
Okay. My thing that was supposed to be sort of us learning more about his character, like at the character moment. This is in the movie, so we're learning that he doesn't really care about other people.
Yeah.
Because like he forgot that she was there. That's a big indication of his character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's
in the same way that like that whole establishing shot of him on that planet and find the show also shows about his character.
Oh yeah, and that's why I wasn't like, I just brought it up so as I could talk about something, but like then I realized that that's totally just establishing his character. So I was like, that's not a problem. That's not a problem at all.
No, I don't think it's a problem. Yeah. I mean, I don't even think it's really necessary either.
Yeah.
I mean, in the same way that showing he's making all those like weird squirrel things in the marsh world, that's also a sign of character. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you, and I don't think that's a problem. That part was a problem.
Yeah.
That was just like something my mind gravitated towards. Like, oh, she just kind of disappeared for the rest of the movie, and there's. Yeah, but.
Yeah.
It's completely fine. I have no complaints about that moment now that I remembered it. It has been a little bit since I've seen the movie, I will say. So.
Yeah, same here.
But I mean, it's definitely a good enough film that I definitely remember a lot of it.
Yeah.
Besides that, I don't really have any complaints about this film. It's a very good and very solid film.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if I watched it again, I might be able to like maybe have some more specific complaints.
Yeah.
But I don't really think there wasn't really a lot about it that was like atrocious or stuck out really.
Yeah.
To me as like a problem. So yeah.
Well, definitely.
I'm trying to think. Anything else you wanted to talk about? Because otherwise, you can. Any other final things?
No, it's a good. The only other thing we haven't really touched upon is Yondu in this film.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Yondu's relationship with Peter is interesting too.
Yeah.
He kind of. I mean, he's obvious. Like his relationship with Peter is very complicated. You know. He puts that bounty on him at one point.
Yeah.
There was that one scene where he literally trolls Yondu. You know, when he
with the troll.
With the troll. Yep. That scene. Yeah, I mean, I think Yondu becomes more interesting in a second. movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think his relationship with Peter is more of a focus.
Oh,
It's
definitely.
less of a focus here. And I mean, we are established that, you know, Yondu's there. I also think he's really interesting character because he's definitely, you can definitely see how much of like Yondu's worldview that Peter has sort of assimilated to himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, sort of this, you know, or how much Yondu's affected him, and even how much of a poor effect it has had on Peter too.
Yeah. His power is also really cool.
Oh yeah, the arrow is really great.
Yeah, it's with the control formation. It's quite different.
The arrow?
And yeah. Well, with how he controls it. I mean, there's people that use arrows all over the place, but he's one that doesn't use a bow. He just uses whistles and it zooms and kills everything.
Yeah.
Very efficiently.
Yes. And I think it is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's just a nice different take on an arrow power.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do. Yeah. Yes, and I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, Nowhere was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was cool to look at. Yeah. The collectors was interesting to say the least.
Yeah. All the different stuff. Howard the Duck, obviously.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first like major appearance of Thanos, right, in the MCU. Like, I know that he appeared at the end of the event, like, in an end credit scene, but I mean, like, this is his first like on screen with
talking. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
But like, he's real minor. He's not even that much of a really at this point. He's just kind of sitting on his throne, biding his time.
Until Infinity War comes along and he does a lot of terrible, terrible things.
Yeah.
A lot of terrible, terrible things.
Yep.
But, yeah, I think that's all I have to say on Guardians of the Galaxy. Do you have anything else to add?
Not really. Other than that, I think it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of fun. I probably still think the second one is a better film.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point.
Yeah, I think I have a lot more to say, a lot more opinions on the second movie. But I do like Guardians of the Galaxy a lot.
Yes. Guardians of the Galaxy.
If you haven't watched it, I definitely, if you were one of those people who is into the whole MCU but kind of wants to see the cream of the crop, if it were, I think the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are definitely must-see in that regard.
Definitely.
So.
Yeah. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, definitely go see it. If you haven't, and go watch it again if you want to, because it's a good film definitely a good film for rewatches. But that's all we have to say. So, Alyssa, where can people find you?
I am on Twitter at @the. Feel free to talk to me there.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you just say that again? I think you cut out a little bit when you were saying your.
Oh, sure. The Rational Dove.
The Rational Dove. Yep. I think I'm not sure if the audio will catch it correctly or not. But
hopefully, I say it a lot in other videos.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You'll probably catch it again.
Yeah.
Or if you aren't sure, feel free to tweet at SoundJack. Be like, hey, what's Alyssa's Twitter handle? And then he'll probably let you know.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking
no
of
worries.
speaking of my Twitter handle, you can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at SoundJack426. Please also like and share this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want. I also have a Patreon account, so if you would like to help support the channel, you can check that out in the description below. Thanks for tuning in. This is SoundJack and Alyssa signing off.